I have this downstairs neighbor who loves me because he was like really drunk this one time and had my number and texted me, and I let him in. And he like feels like he's indebted to me. But one time he was being like, he's like a producer. I think he's like an amateur, like bedroom pop musician or something, because he like very frequently will be playing music and like singing really loudly, but sometimes he just plays music. And a couple of weeks ago, I was playing a horror game. I think I was watching a horror movie. I don't remember what horror movie it is. I watch a lot of horror movies, and I was sitting with my girlfriend, and while we were trying to watch this horror movie, he was blasting a Celine Dion playlist for like a half hour straight. And I could hear it as if I were playing it in my apartment. And it was cool.
Did that change the experience of the horror movie for you?
Yeah, it actually like it broke a lot of the tension, which is nice. And like, who doesn't love Celine Dion? So I slipped a note under his door and I was like, man, I love Celine Dion. I'll be the first to tell you, but could you turn it down? And he did. And we're good buddies now. He's saved in my phone as Jason, downstairs neighbor. So if you're listening to this, Jason, shout out. Shout out. You're welcome on the pod anytime. You can just, yell and you'll probably get picked up on my mic.
Yes, Jason. Come sing Celine to us.
Come sing Celine.
Yeah. So
theme song.
Greetings, podcast land. We are broadcasting once again, joined this week by a very special guest, Connor Carson, a game developer at Sam Barlow's studio. What's the studio called, Connor?
It's called Half Mermaid.
Half Mermaid. So tonight, Connor will be telling us all about that. She'll be giving us the full mermaid experience. But before we do that, I'll bring in the podcast because this is the Motion Pixels podcast. I'm your co-host, August Meyer. August, say hello. Hello! Joined by my lovely co-host, Matthew Rawlings. Matthew, say hello.
Hello.
And as I just mentioned moments ago, astute listeners will recall, we are also joined by Connor Carson, video game developer extraordinaire. Connor, say hello.
Hi. Oh my God. I've never been introduced in such an official fashion. I have butterflies now.
Half butterflies or full butterflies?
I'm going to call, I like 75. They're controllable, but they're pretty high. It's okay. I'm feeling it,
So the butterflies are under control. There's nothing to worry about because this is the Motion Pixels podcast. This week, as you may have guessed, we'll be diving deep, like a mermaid, into Connor Carson's, what she's been up to. She, I don't know if y'all have played the wonderful games that Sam Barlow has been putting out, but one of my favorite indie games from the past, like 5-10 years is Her Story. And that's like the only game that I have ever pulled out a notebook and like needed to like take notes and keep track of all of these clues and whatnot that I was finding out. It's a really solid game. He also put out Telling Lies, which was this like big critically acclaimed game with starring Clementine from Westworld and the mom from Halt and Catch Fire. Very dope show. And he's working on some sort of super secret project, I guess. So Connor, how did you get started at Half Mermaid? Or is it Full Mermaid? It's half or full?
It is the half. No one knows quite exactly what that means for the mermaid in question.
Which half?
But what?
Which half?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Well, that's the question, isn't it? I sort of feel like if you're half mermaid, then at least one of your parents was a mermaid. So you're like actually a quarter human and a quarter fish, and then half something else.
Wait a second. If half mermaid refers to like a mermaid that is cut in half, you would have to slice it like from head to fin, or else it would just look like either a giant fish or a regular sized human.
Well, if you're half mermaid and you are the human half, couldn't we all just be half mermaid?
Well, right. If you're a mermaid, you are half fish, half human. But my argument is if you're half mermaid, you're quarter fish, quarter human, maybe quarter something else, These
like
are
Italian.
the things that keep me awake since I've been working at Half Mermaid. And this is definitely not, something that I've discussed with Sam. He probably does not agree with my assessment of Half Mermaid. This is purely my own puzzling.
This is headcanon
Yes.
for Half Mermaid lore.
Yep.
Great. So how did you start working there?
Well, I was really, really lucky in that I was able to get the job right out of school. So I went to NYU to the Game Center program for game design, their 2-year master's program, and I had a professor who knew that they were searching around and recommended me for the job, and then I did a series of many, many interviews, like right up until like literally 2 days before everything went into lockdown, I think was my final interview. And I was very grateful and very lucky in that I got the job and was able to start actually like 2 weeks after I graduated from school.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's sick. So what do you do specifically? You're a gameplay programmer, is that right?
Yeah. I'm a gameplay programmer, just like kind of all general over programmer for the particular project that I'm working on. But yeah, Sam tells me what he envisions this game doing and how it works. And I, in collaboration with Lizzie Atwood, who's our amazing contracted programmer working out of the UK, she and I work together and make prototypes, just which are becoming more and more polished into the actual thing, trying to create his vision of what this game is going to be.
That's sick. Can you tell us anything about the project you're working on, or is it super under wraps, or what's the status of that?
It's mostly under wraps, so I want to be careful. I'm under NDA, and like I don't want to get anything.
Yeah, don't get yourself in trouble.
It is called at the moment it's going under the title Project Ambrosio or Project A, and you can find it on Steam and wishlist it. And it is in the vein of his previous games, very, very heavily focused around cinema and with a bit of a sort of spooky element to it as well, but I can't really say more than that.
Cool. Yeah, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, I like spooky.
I didn't play Telling Lies, but I played the shit out of her story.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't say it was spooky, but it was a pretty dark game. So to see more of that sounds really cool. What's your experience with Sam Barlow's games? Like, I know he also did Silent Hill Origins and one other Silent Hill game and a few other projects.
Yeah, he did Shattered Memories.
Shattered Memories, that's what it is.
Yeah, I really hadn't played much of Sam's games before applying for the job. I knew of them, and we had definitely talked about them in some of my classes in school. But when the application sort of presented itself as an opportunity, I was just like, all right, I got to go play these games. And so I just did like a rapid dash playing of Her Story and Telling Lies. And I haven't gotten to any of the Silent Hill games that he's had a hand in, but I did go back to, I just played Silent Hill 2.
Oh, sick.
For the first time like a month ago. And my experience with the Silent Hill series before that was being a kid with a PS4, and we had like one of the demo discs that came with the console that had a demo of Silent Hill on it, and my sister said, under no circumstances play this. So obviously I played it and then decided that like I never wanted to touch another Silent Hill game in my life.
And look where that got you. So
here I am.
Cool. Yeah. So this is a spooky game, which is cool for the month of October, which, generally pretty spook filled. What are some of your favorite, like, do you have other favorite, like horror games, horror movies, things that kind of inform your work?
Definitely. I am, I love horror stuff. I struggle with like the really sort of gore-centric horror, but like creepy, suspenseful horror I love. I watched a lot of like possession films growing up out of a fascination because I was raised Catholic. And so I was equal parts like, I want to understand this. And like, wow, my mom is telling me this is real. That's kind of fucked up. Sorry, I don't know if I can swear. Can I swear?
Yeah, go for it.
Sweet.
If you swear, it's over.
Yeah,
We're like
fucking
literally
do
ending
it,
the call.
Connor.
Shit. All right. But yeah, so I watched like Exorcism of Emily Rose when I was a kid, and that has just like been burned into my brain. Horror games that I've played, probably one of the first like really hardcore horror games that I played was a Resident Evil Biohazard.
Oh, sick.
That really terrified me because I never played anything quite that hardcore because I just generally get like paralyzed with fear when I try to play a horror game.
I mean, that's like one of the scariest games in the world.
It's difficult. Like, full disclosure, I played it with my fiance and mostly made him handle the controller.
Is that the first one? The Biohazard?
No,
is that another?
It's like the seventh, I think?
The seventh one. Yeah, it's confusing, Matt, because Resident Evil in Japan is called Biohazard.
Yeah.
So, like, the series is. So, like, I think in Japan, and Resident Evil 7 is called Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. But I think in Japan, that game is called Biohazard 7 Resident Evil.
That's the first person
like,
one, right?
That, but yeah, it's the first.
Dude,
the first
that one, yeah, my friend was playing that a couple of weeks back, and he was streaming it while he did, and it looks really good. I really want to play it in VR.
Dude,
my God. I heard it's like the scariest shit ever.
Yeah, right.
I've watched a lot of Let's Play in VR, and I do not think I could handle that. But I think my favorite horror game that I've played ever is oh gosh, before I get onto that, I should give a shout out to Phantasmagoria when I was a kid. Have you guys played that?
No, what is it?
No, but I've heard of it.
Oh my God, it's a ridiculous FMV game by Roberta Williams that was critically, the reception was complicated and there was like some really iffy stuff in it. But the actual game itself, like it was one that I wasn't technically allowed to play, but like I would go to my cousins and play it anyway. It was terrifying. There were a lot of cutscenes of like really weird, campy, grotesque horror, and that is a very interesting sort of funny, ridiculous, campy horror game. Definitely recommend that. But favorite overall has to be Alien Isolation.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, that game's awesome.
Yeah, I'm obsessed with that game. I wrote when I applied to the NYU Game Center, one of my application essays was on that game. It's so good. I can't with the alien and just also the aesthetic of the entire game. Having grown up on Alien and Aliens, that is such
a good franchise. Can I ask you some questions about your game dev program? I've never actually heard like what people learn in those courses. Like, yeah. So like, what were your class? Because it's a master's program, so you don't have to do any like dumb like unrelated stuff, right? You didn't have to take like a history or
there was no like general ed classes or anything like that. It was everything was game dev focused.
That's cool.
The Game Center is really interesting. I would never have even known about the program had it not been that when I was an undergrad at Tisch, I was there studying acting. I like just got to a point where I was really kind of over the acting side of things, kind of exacerbated with a lot of the politics of it, and I wanted to branch out and just take some electives that would be fun. And one of the electives I took was at the Game Center just for fun. It was like this philosophical class called Thinking About Games, where we spent the entire semester trying to define what a game is. And I had this amazing professor, Charles Pratt, and then it was years later that I like reached back out to him and was like, hey, what if I did this as a career? And he was very supportive of me in applying to the master's program. And basically, the NYU Game Center is really focused on making independent game developers. So they're not necessarily like, grooming you to go out into AAA development right away. They really want to give you a full toolkit to be able to develop on your own, to be able to do the narrative design, to do at least basic programming, or if you're more interested in that, then to do more advanced programming, to do, the basic art, whatever you have to do to sort of be a like fully equipped, rounded game developer on your own, is really what they were focused on.
Wow, that's awesome. So like, were there like courses on genres? Like,
there were some elective courses on genres. Like, I know there was a horror game 2-credit elective course that I really wanted to take, and I couldn't fit it into my schedule that particular semester, which was a bummer. But yeah,
wow,
definitely.
Yeah, that's awesome. I didn't know, because like the only programs I've ever heard of have been like ones that like I don't know what other colleges are called outside of California, because that's where I went to school. But like the CSUs all have like game design programs, but they were, I don't know, seemed all like very basic and like not targeting. Like, it's cool that this program was aiming to make indie devs and like giving you like a really well-rounded toolkit, because then you can like go do whatever with that.
Yeah, it was really incredible. I mean, I think it depends on what you want. Like, definitely I feel like if you want to go into game dev and you want to do a really specific niche of game dev and work in AAA, then like there are different schools to go to become an expert in that specific thing. But if you just want to be an independent developer making your own stuff and able to sort of survive that way, doing various contract work and that kind of thing, the Game Center was amazing and really, really good at sort of letting you pick and choose where you wanted to invest your time.
That's cool. So like, did they teach you like Unity or Unreal, or like how to write your own thing from scratch? Like, did they cover any of that there?
Nothing, not necessarily like writing anything from scratch, but almost everything that we did was in Unity. They do have an undergraduate program, and I know that some of those classes covered Unreal and some other kinds of engines. And like I took a couple programming classes that dabbled in some other engines, like, oh gosh, what did I use? I'm blanking on all their names. Phaser. Oh gosh, there's an engine that uses Lua that's like,
ew, it's better you probably forget about that.
Yeah, I'm not a super big fan of Lua.
Lua's like you can like do anything with Lua, right? Or like that's what you use to like mod just whatever game, right?
I mean, I'm not experienced enough in it to probably make a really informed opinion, but in the few weeks that I spent with it, it pissed me off.
Yeah, I've written some janky macros in World of Warcraft with Lua, but
sick.
I can't imagine like writing a whole game engine in that.
Yeah, that was rough. Pretty much everything we did was C# and Unity, and then there was a little bit of room to dabble in other stuff in a couple of classes.
So is Unity what you use at Half Mermaid, or do you guys have like custom tools? Because like I wanted to ask you all about this, because like those games seem so strange, like on how they must be set up. I can't even I don't know if you can talk about that, but I'd be really interested in hearing like how you even get it going. I
mean, I'm only partially privy to the way that like Her Story and Telling Lies were sort of like architectured, but yeah, they're all done in Unity.
Oh, cool.
That's awesome.
And you just have to be, I guess, really clever with some of the video playback, because like rendering that, especially if there's any point where like you need to render multiple things at once, becomes really expensive and tricky. And so it's just like a lot of sleight of hand, I think.
Yeah, wow,
the FMV nature of Sam Barlow's games really stands out to me. I try to keep my ear to the ground in the like indie game dev scene, and almost no one else that I am aware of is going as hard in the paint with FMV as this guy. And I think it's cool because growing up, I always thought of FMV games as like hokey and like, I don't know, not for me. Like I remember seeing cutscenes from Command and Conquer. I don't know if you're familiar, but like Tim Curry is in Command and Conquer.
Yeah.
And like those cutscenes are like so like pulpy and campy. So I always kind of associated FMV games with that. Like they're going to be campy. Like man, I'm blanking on the name, but it was called Night Trap. One of the early FMV games is about like a house under siege by a vampire, and it was like banned by like the by conservatives in the United States because it was like so, I don't know, it was like it let you like kill people and it showed it, with video, but it was still super campy. So the fact that like in 2020, or I have no idea if Project A is FMV, but in earlier in the last decade with Telling Lies and Her Story, I just think it's so cool that like FMV is given prestige, like when someone takes it really seriously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think it was really born out of sort of a necessity when Sam was creating Her Story, which was just, how can I do this effectively and within my budget? And obviously, paying a ton of artists to do 3D modeling or God forbid, like doing motion capture was all going to get very expensive. And just actually filming live actors and using the footage within the game was the most effective sort of method for him to tell the story that he wanted to tell. And it worked. And so he's really stuck with it. He's also a huge cinephile. Sam's knowledge of cinema in general is mind-blowing to me. If you're ever just like bored and want to learn about really interesting random cinema from history, go look at his Twitter at Mr. Sam Barlow. It is insane. He is equally parts, I would say, cinephile and a games expert. And I think a lot of the use of FMV comes out of his love for that. But yeah, I think it came out of initially, it would seem to me, out of necessity, which I think a lot of really good game design choices too. It's like, I have to do this thing, but I'm constrained by X, Y, Z, and then you just have to get clever with it.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, that leads to some really like some total magic. Because like I was blown away by Her Story. Honestly, I played the whole thing, like binged it in one night with my buddy, and yeah, I mean, it's just awesome. And you see the like cinematic influence in that game, and I'm sure with Telling Lies as well. And I've been following Sam Barlow on Twitter for a while, and this month has been delightful following him because he's been posting tons of like stuff about horror, and he's like, I'm doing this thing this month where I'm watching a horror movie every day, and it seems like he's like almost doing the same thing because like every single day he's posting about some random, typically like horror movie that he's been watching or is thinking about. And yeah, it's awesome. It's cool to see like the melding of like cinema and video games. Like I think the biggest budget example of that is probably like Hideo Kojima and all of his games, like all the way back to like Metal Gear Solid. The first 3D Metal Gear game was like, I think it took people by surprise because of its approach to storytelling, like from a cinematic perspective. Like games had cutscenes before Metal Gear Solid, but Metal Gear Solid is made like a spy movie, and that just hadn't been done before. So I think it's really cool to see kind of the mixed media approach to game developing. It's really exciting because I love movies a lot. My whole life I've been just as passionate about movies as I have been about video games. But you, Connor, we went to high school together, and all through high school you were like the drama girl. Like you were in like all of the plays and musical and whatnot. That shout out to Mrs. Schmelzer, the drama director. That she put
Schmelzer.
On. Schmelzer, friend of the podcast. You're welcome on anytime. If you want to hop on the mic.
That would be an amazing episode.
Yeah, so talking about cinematic influence, maybe theatrical influence in games, like how do you feel that your like tenure in theater and acting informed your game development?
Sure. I think, well, it's interesting. I think about this a lot because I think it is influencing my work in like a vast number of ways. First of all, I don't think I would have ended up in game dev or with the job that I currently have if I didn't have that previous experience within theater. Because I was pretty 100% committed to that. I went to undergrad for that, and then I sort of became disenchanted with it through my experience as an undergrad, and then with a couple of years following auditioning. And I still had a love for acting, for performance itself, and I started to get into voiceover, including sort of exploring a little bit of video game voiceover, where I found I was really meeting like the best it felt to me like I was meeting the best people within the industry in a sense. But you know, I became more and more disenchanted, and I remembered that professor that I'd had as an undergrad who had actually taken me aside at one point and been like, "Hey, have you considered this as a career?" And that was the first moment that it clicked for me, like, oh, people make games for a living. I could do that. And so I went to him, you know, a couple years after trying the audition thing. And I was like, you know, I don't know why, but I feel really drawn to this. I feel like it's sort of this perfect middle ground between all these things that I've invested my time in. And am I crazy for wanting to do this or for wanting to apply to this program? And he was super supportive. And then to come upon this job where so much of what Sam is about is cinema, is the performance. He's an amazing director. He really loves working directly with actors, and coming into it from that perspective. And also during those 2 years when I had been auditioning, sort of as my survival job, I had been working for a small film conservatory doing film editing. So I'd gotten my hand a little bit in the film production side of things. And so between that and the acting experience and then the game dev experience and then coming to find Sam, who was like this perfect sort of mix of all of those, I was like, yep, this is the job for me. And I definitely find like it's influenced my work. Not as much in the programming work just because I definitely take some creative liberties in my work, but mostly, you know, it's about what Sam wants to do creatively, and then I just try to make whatever he wants happen. But like in my personal work and things I'm developing on the side for fun, like I do a lot of narrative writing, and I found it's influenced me massively. If for nothing else, in that like I love working on narrative work and doing even interactive fiction, and being able to write from a character first perspective and really be focused on the objectives, and less on the, I don't want to say the plot. Obviously there's focus on the plot, but writing everything from a character perspective, sort of like that's like where I'm coming from to begin with, is huge and has been a really big help to me.
That's really cool. So what kind of stuff do you work on the side? You say interactive fiction. Is that like the first thing that comes to my mind is like a visual novel, like that kind of thing?
Visual novels, I've done a handful of, but what I really love is just really classic interactive fiction where it's like, it's just pure text. It's like you're in a cave with a lamp.
Oh, cool. Like a mug.
And yeah, and you just write like examine lamp and things like that. So I've definitely worked a lot on those kinds of things. I did a lot of those projects in school. For fun, I dabble in some like interactive fiction erotica, and then I just work on some other random kinds of games. Like I'm working on a sort of chess match 3 hybrid game right now that I'm just having a lot of fun working on, that came out of a prototype that I did for a class. Oh,
that's dope. Yeah, Matt actually has some experience with visual novels / dating simulators.
Oh my god!
So you guys might be able to, kind of, pick each other's brains about the scene. He, for instance, was working on briefly a dating simulator where there were we have like a Discord where a bunch of the buds get together. And they were planning a dating simulator with female versions of a bunch of the guys from the Discord, where you could like, your car like breaks down in front of like a sorority house filled with girl versions of the guys in the Discord.
You're getting it all wrong. You're getting it all wrong. So the pitch was,
I'm sold.
Coronavirus, the dating game.
Oh,
but
God.
Like nerds. So like you're in like it's like, I think it was college. I can't remember, but.
It was definitely college.
Yeah, it was college.
There was a sorority house involved.
All the characters were based like around personality-wise us, and it was like split into like scenarios where you would like choose to play games with certain people, and then you would have conversations. It'd be like a branching narrative tree. We never did it, and I'm kind of glad because that would have been it would have been
Matt,
weird.
My favorite feature that was on the project roadmap that I heard about was that. Okay, so the Connor, the main mechanic in this game was that during the day you're flirting with all of the different girls and who are the boys in the Discord.
Yeah, which to be clear are all of you.
And every night you choose one to text with. And they were going to have a Patreon or something where you could pay to make your texts even raunchier and to unlock pictures the girls would send you.
Oh my god!
See, this is why these weren't my ideas. This wasn't my brainchild, and this is
no. You're engaging in what do they call it? Is it Kiss Coin?
Kiss Coin.
Oh my god, Connor, what is Kiss Coin? Let's go into that.
I might not be using the right phrase, and please forgive me, I'm half a bottle in. But if it is Kiss Coin or something similar, it's basically, in games, especially dating sims, it's the mechanic where essentially, if you say the right thing, you will get the girl or guy or gender non-conforming person of your heart's desire. And
isn't that all games like that though? I feel like every dating sim. I've always just thought of it as fan service.
It definitely is the majority of them because I don't think anybody's found a better way around that mechanic, or at least I don't think any really mainstream games have found a good way around that mechanic. And yeah, there is the argument that is very much not a healthy transaction to be making and to reinforce for the player. It's like The Sims, you just say the right things and you up your stats and you flirt a little and then you woohoo, and because you earned it.
Yeah, that's the dating sim I want to make. Not this one. The one Gus was talking about was a joke that one of our friends who's an artist, he was going to do all the art and writing. It was his idea, and I'm the only person really in the Discord that does programming that would have done it. So he asked me to help, and I was like, yeah, sure.
Good, yeah, important distinction there. There's plenty of programmers, but he was the only one who would have done it.
Yeah. Oh my god. But yeah, no, a visual novel I was throwing around with some of my roommates back, wow, I'm old, 4 years ago, was just a visual novel where every ending just puts you down super hard. It's the bait and switch. You try to do all that stuff and then it just turns out that whoever you're pursuing just gives you a big fuck you and goes and does something else just to make the player feel bad.
Rather than a kiss coin, it's like a cuck coin.
Yeah, it's the cuck
like a
novel.
Fuck you coin. That's interesting. The question is, how do you get your players to play that? That sounds very punishing.
Big anime titties.
Wow.
That's all visual novels are, right?
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
I mean,
I'm not going to say all of them, but that's certainly a trend in some.
Well, yeah, interactive story games. There's really good ones. There's I'm sure you've played a bunch of the Telltale games, like The Walking Dead, and yeah, all of those. And those are I really like story, choose your own kind of adventure games like that. And I think those are what a good visual novel would be. But when you get to the visual novel actual category rather than story-based game or whatever Telltales are it's just all anime girls and it's all fan service. It's what it seems like.
I just feel like visual novels in general, and this is not to say I've never played a good one, but in general, I feel like they let me down. That's why I prefer the interactive fiction. I just I want to picture what this person is based on the words that you provide. And the second you provide me some still of an anime figure sliding in from the right or sliding in from the left, I'm just disappointed. I'm just you're not what I wanted.
Yeah, it's kind of a dumping ground genre. Because every game that does that idea better gets labeled under something else, so it's not associated with those.
It rises from the dregs of the visual novel category on Steam.
The dregs.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right, well, let's all make a visual novel together. That's what I'm hearing.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, cool.
The cuck novel, is that what we're going to go with?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
I seriously
love that kind of thing.
I made a whole visual novel prototype in Unity, so I got to use it at some point.
You got to do it. And if any of you all need some erotic writing, I am not even kidding that I have a deep passion for it, but little opportunity to use it. I am not brave about it. I took a class, my third or fourth semester, called Prototype Studio, where every week we would get a prompt. Some were vague and some were really specific, and we would have 1 week to make a prototype of a game based on the prompt. And I think, I was tasked with making something like truly addictive, like Flappy Bird addictive, and I was like, all right, well, I'm just gonna make like the most ridiculous, sexy visual novel ever, but where like, you know, those visual novels where it'll offer you a couple choices of what to say, and like 2 of them are terrible, and then there's one really good obvious choice, but you have to pay in-game currency to use it.
Oh, what?
Yeah, that's like a huge thing.
Huh?
If you've ever played like go play Episodes, or there's others.
God, I've seen ads for Episodes.
Do I want to play this? I'm gonna look it up right now.
Yes, you do. Play Ikemen Vampire, which low-key I loved. I dated a vampire version of Sherlock Holmes, and I was there for it. And I refused to pay any in-game money. But if you want to make the good saucy choices, you gotta pay that in-game money.
Like it's a microtransaction, or it's like an in-game currency?
It's an in-game currency that you mostly are only able to get by spending real money.
Jesus Christ!
So Connor, can you give us an example of what this like? So like, take us to your experience with sexy vampire Sherlock Holmes, and like, what's a scenario where like you would have to dish out some like fucking tokens to get the vampire D?
This feels really personal, and I have a vague memory because there was like. Low-key, I went through about a month and a half or 2 months of playing this really hard during quarantine. And then my fiance had this medical emergency. He, spoiler alert, is totally fine, but his lung collapsed at the time. And I was terrified to death for him. And I was like, it's because you're emotionally cheating on him with this vampire game.
Oh my God.
So I put it away. But every night it still sends me notifications and is like, Arthur misses you. And I'm like, well, I miss Arthur too.
God,
but
it's like
here
an
we are.
e-boy for your phone.
That's sick. That's brilliant.
It's really ridiculous. The lines are super insane. One of the lines that he said was that like he wanted to like have all of you, your mind, body, and soul, like something really intense and kind of toxic. But I was like, yeah, sure. Go for it.
Yes, I will pay $1.50 for that.
I will pay $1.50 for you to own my entire being. That sounds like a healthy relationship.
Okay, Connor, if I can just like interject a little bit, one
Please.
like very something very close to the hearts of the Motion Pixels podcast is the baseball scene from Twilight. What are your thoughts on Twilight, and is Twilight the best baseball movie in your opinion?
This is amazing that you brought this up, because I was literally considering about 5 minutes ago mentioning that one of my friends from the Game Center, who's an amazing game dev and narrative game writer, her name is Elizabeth Ballou. I don't know if she's made it. And if she hasn't, trademark, it's hers. So back off, everybody. But she wanted to make a dating sim that was purely based on the baseball scene from Twilight.
Oh my God.
Oh, I would 100% play that. There are so
That's
many of
money
us online
in
who
the
are obsessed
bag.
with that scene. I follow so many on Twitter, like Twilight fan accounts, just in the hopes that the baseball scene will like, there'll be like a GIF of the baseball scene on my timeline.
Oh my God, it's so good. I don't know why she hasn't done it yet, because it is just money waiting to be made. And as far as my opinion of the Twilight books, I read the first 3 in high school. I had to put a Harry Potter cover over them because I wasn't allowed to read them. And then I didn't read the last one, or whatever. I don't remember what the last one was, but I didn't read the last one. I was over it at that point. But
Did you watch the last movie?
No, I know what generally happens. Like, I know that Jacob marks her baby and is in love with her unborn child.
And, like, names her. It's, like, it's really wild.
It's too much. It's too much. No, Jacob. But I've been trying hardcore to convince my fiance to watch it with me with the mindset of, it's a parody. It's really entertaining if you watch it. It's a parody.
Okay,
but
see,
he won't do
I unironically, completely legitimately think the first Twilight movie is like dope.
Yeah, it's
like,
pretty good.
I love that movie. We watched it for the podcast a little while back, and like I was just like blown away how much I loved it, because like growing up it's like kind of goofy, and I always liked the Twilight movies growing up. But like coming back to it, I was like, okay, this probably hasn't aged well. But no, like I think Twilight 1 like fucking rocks and is so silly, and like the baseball scene, like okay, so a fun fact I learned about the baseball scene. So when the sexy bad vampires, because you know we're following the titular, you know, sexy good vampires of
sexy
Twilight.
Bad vampires are my best. I don't remember what that vampire's name was. The main sexy bad vampire, the male one.
Yeah,
I
don't remember either, but they're all very sexy. And, you know, like bare chested, you know, beautiful, beautiful specimens of vampires. And so when they enter that scene in the baseball scene, when the bad vampires come and like, you know, put a wet blanket all over the Cullen family tradition. So there's this crazy shot where they're walking up and they're walking towards the camera like faster than it looks possible. And the way they filmed that is they had them all on like a big treadmill, like one of those like treadmill things at the airport. And they like that's out of the shot, but they have them walking on that. So it seems like these vampires are just like rolling up in like the dopest way possible, you know, because vampires are, you know, extra fast and sexy.
Yeah.
But yeah, cinematic masterpiece in my opinion. Unironically, Twilight fucking rules.
That's so good. Twilight is amazing. You know what else is amazing in the same genre? Interview with the Vampire.
You know, I have never seen it, but I love Tom Cruise.
I've never even heard of that.
I love Brad Pitt. Oh my God, Matt, how have you not heard of it?
Oh, Matt, what? I was reading this in high school. We had to have talked about it.
The Vampire? I'm looking this
Interview
up.
with a Vampire. Yes. Yeah, it's by the Anne Rice. It's this series of books.
Wow, it's old.
This is a movie based on it.
It's 1994.
It's old, but it's magical. It's like, oh God, it was half of my sexual awakening. Oh, obviously, the other half was Phantom of the Opera. But
wait. Backtrack. So who were you into? Were you into the Phantom or the
opera?
The girl. Oh yeah, the Phantom or the opera?
The opera. I was there for the opera.
Very cool.
No, I was. I was obviously into the opera. It actually irks John, my fiance, every single day because I tell him he's Raoul, but he knows that I love the Phantom. I love Raoul too. Raoul's the healthy, good love. But the Phantom is
Christine
the slightly...
is just like jonesing for that Phantom D. Yeah, I mean, he has that mask. It's Gerard Butler in the movie.
Come on. It is that unhealthy, sexy, like, hit me with another round of that ridiculous toxic love. It is so stupid unhealthy, but I'm there for it. And that was probably like biggest part of my sexual awakening.
I think mine was probably a Goofy movie. For some reason, Roxanne.
Roxanne,
the sexy college dog girl. Maybe dog face, we might say. She did something to me. I don't know what it was, because I always felt, you know, kind of like Max of a Goofy movie fame. So to see him get the girl, really, really spoke to me.
This is not the first time that I've heard this.
Yeah, I mean, I think Roxanne is, you know, a wonderful lady dog, and I want the best for her. In the X Games one, in the sequel, I think they're like a happy couple, if I remember correctly. So I think that's like...
No, she doesn't exist.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
They definitely broke up because she is not existent in an extremely goofy movie.
The sexiest dog character in movie history?
They do not mention her. She is never seen. The only awesome female character that I can recall... Well, no, there's Goofy's girlfriend.
Yeah, that's the best one.
But Pete's girlfriend, the like... moody like slam poetry girl.
No, see, that's the thing, is that, you know, I'm also into goth slam poetry girls, so that also did it for me. So I really both the Goofy cinematic universe really really awoke me sexually as well.
Huh.
Yeah, that's fair. It was good.
You guys had sexual awakenings from movies?
Yeah, big time.
Huh.
Have you not had yours yet, Matt?
I don't think so.
It'll happen. Just read Interview with the Vampire. I was playing. Shout out to another friend. Virginia Wilkerson. She made a game called That's Gay, and it's like a card matching game where you basically have like a set of cards that are presented randomly, and you decide together as a table what is the most gay. And to be clear, she is queer, and this is made as like a very sort of queer-friendly, satirical game for everyone to sort of decide what is the most gay in their personal experience of queer culture. And one of the cards that, in my experience, consistently wins is Interview with a Vampire.
Wait, so you're saying, so I know sexy Brad Pitt vampire and sexy Tom Cruise vampire are in that movie, but are they a couple? Are they a vampire couple?
They're not officially a vampire couple, but there is so much. There is Frodo, Sam, sexual tension there.
Okay.
Frodo and Sam had sexual tension?
Take a step back.
What?
Yeah, take a step back. What?
Did you watch that film?
Yes.
Film?
I've seen the extended edition probably a dozen times.
I've seen the extended edition 5 dozen times. Oh my God, you just uploaded a picture of Roxanne.
Yeah, in a Thrasher t-shirt. We'll put this on the pod. It's a very important image for me.
This is really good. But that's Goofy talking to her, I feel like. That does not look like Max.
Yeah, no, that's like Streetwear Max. He's like, he got a job.
Oh my God.
And he's
no, it looks like Max's dad is hitting
store.
on his girlfriend.
No way. That can be your headcanon, but my headcanon is pure. Goofy would never do that to Max.
Okay, hold on.
Right.
We pulled away from the real conversation piece. You think Frodo and Sam had sexual tension?
Listen, I think you can watch that film and experience it one of two ways, and both ways are valid and wholesome as fuck. One way is that they had a true, beautiful bromance that was just unbreakable by anything under Middle Earth's beautiful sun. But the other way is that they were fucking in love with each other, and that is equally valid. And there's going to be moments when they look at each other and Frodo says, "I'm glad you're here with me, Sam." And you'll never look at it the same, and you'll be like, yep, they're in love.
I love that for them.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Either way is valid and beautiful and wholesome. But you can definitely see it either way. And you're never going to unsee it. Go back and watch them and watch all the moments where they say little adorable things to each other.
I've actually only seen the movies each once, and that was in theaters when they came out.
Wait, okay. Wait, what? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that's the case. Everybody growing up, y'all were all obsessed with Lord of the Rings, and I liked it.
Say, not to bring up your dating history, but you dated somebody in high school who was very obsessed with this film.
Yeah.
Let's dig into Matt's dating history.
No, we're skipping
really
that.
We've already started.
But yeah, no, everybody was obsessed with it, but I never saw it the second time. I've seen them, but people have these marathons where they'll watch the extended cuts that are 5 hours each or something, right?
4.
They're about 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've never seen those either. It just sounds like a lot.
God. I've seen them probably close to 50 times.
Hell yeah.
I watch them almost every single year. They're probably my favorite thing in the entire world.
Yeah, the extended edition of the first movie, I can't even watch the theatrical cut of The Fellowship of the Ring because we get an entire hour in Hobbiton in the Shire. And it's there's just nothing better than a bunch of quasi-Irish, short people running around shooting off fireworks. There's nothing better.
It's true. And all the Galadriel scenes with the, I think her giving the gifts and everything, that's all cut.
Oh, yeah. See, I don't even have a frame of reference because I only watched the extended editions of Lord of the Rings.
As it should be. Don't worry, Matt. We'll fix you.
Yeah, we'll fix you, Matt. You broken man.
We'll make you whole again.
Okay, so let's circle back. Let's circle back. We've gone a bit out of pocket. This is probably the horniest that the podcast has ever got, which is a good thing. It's a good thing.
Maybe somebody will have their sexual awakening from the Motion Pixels podcast.
Yeah. Oh my God, I wish that so much.
Yeah, if you are sexually awakened by this podcast, tweet at us at Motion Pixels, join the Discord.
Just an eggplant. Just tweet an eggplant.
Yeah, tweet an eggplant at
or
all
peach.
Of us, just so we know. Or a peach, or a watermelon. Like a
whatever is your preferenced fruit.
Yeah. Whatever fruit gets you going. Tweet that at us.
Or vegetable. I don't know.
Or vegetable. It could be a tomato, like one of those like fruit vegetables, like you don't really know what it is, but you know that you're like into it. You want that ketchup.
It's pretty undisputed that that's a fruit, but it's okay.
And in many people's opinions, it's like the flat Earth thing. I'm just kidding. This is not a flat Earth podcast. We're over that. Cut that part out, Matt. Cut that part out. We don't want to get taken down by
big flat Earth.
Yeah, by big flat Earth.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, just bleep. Just find like a really cool soundbite that is like makes it sound like I'm saying something really informed and like wholesome and good. And just bleep it out with that. That'd be cool. We would appreciate that. But so tweet at us, whatever sex fruit or vegetable gets you going, if this podcast has sexually awakened you, and if not, don't. But
that's
Connor,
valid too.
Connor, so
yes.
So you say that you're out there making like bomb indie games with Sam Barlow and the like half to full Mermaid crew. You have these side projects going. Like what else do you want to dip your toes in game development? Like what genres or kinds of projects would you want to get into?
Oh man, that's a toughie.
If it's too tough, we can go back to talking about Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt, because I feel like we didn't dig deep enough into that.
We didn't really delve into that as much as I thought we would. No, it's okay. Oh man, it's interesting because I feel like I've sort of had my hand in such a hodgepodge variety of game genres in my studying. And I certainly didn't know when I started school either that I was going to be into programming specifically. But what I also spent a lot of time in was narrative and narrative writing and design. And I would really love, I think there's so many things. And I feel like I'm going to sound a little insane naming all the different kinds of games that I want to participate in. But in general, puzzle games. I love puzzle games. And puzzle games with a narrative. I grew up playing things like Myst and Riven with my mom. And I love those games, and I would love to make something that is within that genre. I really love classic point-and-click RPGs, and I feel like there's just like a loss of love for them, and there's a clunkiness that they can't quite get over that hump, and I would love to figure out sort of how to solve some of that. I feel like, oh God, I was just playing Disco Elysium, and I'm not very far in, but I feel like they do a fantastic job with this. But for anybody that is familiar, the King's Quest series and the Quest for Glory series, both Sierra Online titles, were a huge part of my childhood and are definitely the kinds of games that I would like to be involved in sort of recreating in a more modern, accessible, streamlined way. And then, oh man. I mean, the overall dream is to work. Literally, the overall dream is to go and work for Crystal Dynamics on the Tomb Raider series. That's like the end all be all.
Oh, that'd be sick. I think. Do you think they're going to make more Tomb Raider games? Because it seems like they have this Avengers IP now, and it seems like they're trying to support that.
Well, I think flopped, so maybe.
but they're trying to support it. But the Tomb Raider IP, I mean, all those games, I think did pretty well.
They, excuse me. They did, and the reboot, I mean, the initial reboot in 2013 was amazing. Having played all the originals and kind of knowing what they were doing, I mean, there were definitely, I think, some flaws, and I long for what was the original concept of Lara Croft. I don't know if you guys know this, that the original sort of pitch for Lara Croft was actually a South American woman named Laura Cruz.
Oh, that's cool.
And I would have loved to have that and to have a Latinx character represented in Lara Croft, or in what would have been Lara Cruz. But then, of course, at the time, I think it was Eidos, maybe, or Square Enix. I can't remember which, but one of them was like, this isn't super UK friendly. Let's make something more UK friendly. And so they made her white and they went with Lara Croft. But in general, I don't know. She's such an amazing character, and I think that those games did a really good job of sort of reimagining her and still holding true to what made her very she was always an amazing character in the puzzles of those games. The puzzle design of those games was phenomenal, but then they really sort of grounded her and made her more human in a really wonderful way. And the sequels to the 2013 Tomb Raider, I feel like, haven't quite lived up to that, but they're still pretty wonderful. I think that there's definitely still a lot of profit for them to make there. I think they're going to continue to make them. I hope they do. And I would love to work on them, either in the narrative world or in the programming world. Or in the freaking combat world. I saw the other day that they were looking for like a combat expert, and I was like, that must be the most kick-ass job.
Like motion cap combat?
Yeah, I think you're kind of deciding what her combat is, and probably like it sounds a little bit like it would be like a fight director job.
God, that's so cool.
Which would be the most badass thing. And it was something that I did a lot of when I was acting, was stage combat. Oh, that would be amazing. There's so many realms that I would be willing to work in if it was on a Tomb Raider game. So, Crystal Dynamics, if you're listening, my name is Connor Carson, and please hire me. But yeah.
So, okay.
Yeah. Go on.
Another thing I wanted to ask is, you are an actor and you work at a studio that makes FMV games.
Yeah.
So are you gonna leverage your skills here?
Am I just gonna be like, Sam, drop me in this scene? I've got it.
Put me in, coach.
I mean, like, that's, I don't know, like indie studios, like, I'm not sure if you're familiar with like Supergiant. They made like Bastion, and their most recent game was Hades. They're like a 10-person team.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you have?
I'm familiar with them. I haven't gotten to Hades yet, but it is high on my priority.
Oh my god,
list.
Connor, Hades is so dope. All of Supergiant's games are awesome, but Hades is amazing. We were talking about that last week.
Yeah. I've been watching, Gus and our friend Dane have been watching this no-clip documentary on the studio, and there, a lot of the people play a lot of roles. Like, what's that audio guy's name? Is that Darren Korb? Is that his name?
That sounds right.
Yeah. He literally does like all the instrumentals for all the music tracks, the voice acting, the mixing, like everything. He does so much of it. And like, you know, it's just because it's a small studio and they got to do it. And it's like, you work at a studio where you do FMV and you have a strong acting background. And I know you're an amazing actress because we did like, I mean, granted, it was high school drama, but like you were the star of the, you know, the small pond. So like you got chops and you've only been doing more. It just seems like, I thought that'd be like why you would go to a studio like that, you know, because it's like you get to leverage both your backgrounds.
I think that's definitely part of why they hired me, is that I had that experience. And they're definitely, one of the things that I love about the studio and about Sam in general is that they really want everyone's input on everything. You know, even though I'm the programmer, I'm constantly included on conversations that involve design, that involve narrative, and my input is taken into account. And I love that because I want to like nurture and develop those parts of my game dev kit. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I definitely didn't go into it with any intention to continue acting. I do kind of have a desire to continue acting, at least in the in the voiceover respect. I really enjoy voiceover. It's something that felt the most natural to me of all the things that I studied in my time in school, as well as stage combat. And like I've continued to do martial arts as just sort of my way of staying physically fit and just as a hobby. And so that would be amazing too. But I don't know. Yeah, it's never really been something I've thought about. I don't know how I would propose that or that I would fit any of the roles that they're looking for.
Hey, boss,
I feel like if anything,
got
I'm
this
like
monologue. Want to listen to it?
Well, okay. So this is
it's from Beauty and the Beast.
I have a lot of professional experience, and I can tell you that leveraging your background is really important. So if you have all of this martial arts experience, I think maybe the best plan of action, if you really want this, is to kick Sam Barlow's ass.
Like fight him?
Yeah, like fight him. Just like challenge him to a fight, and the winner takes all. Okay, so I want to dig in a little bit, Connor. To so you said you're into like erotica. Is there any like erotic fiction games that people might not know about? Because it seems like a genre that's probably been there's probably a lot of games like that. I'm just not familiar with a lot of them personally.
Isn't that just visual
erotic
novels?
Games. I mean, a lot of them are visual novels. This is difficult. I'm trying to think what I've played that has been erotic in nature. There is, I have to look this up right now. There is an amazing interactive fiction game that is quite old, but is quite good. That stirred me up. It's called Plundered Hearts by Amy Briggs, and it's a wonderful game where you are playing as a woman that's sort of taken captive / rescued by a captain of a pirate ship, and that's a great game. And then of course there's just the classic Sims, where if you were anything like me during high school, you just recreated every crush that you had in the Sims, and then like married them and had children with them. Sorry everybody that I had a crush on in high school. There were a lot of you. What else? I'm trying to think of really good erotic stuff. I'm not gonna lie, I played recently a Phantom interactive fiction that was ultimately disappointing.
Wait, Phantom of the Opera?
Yeah.
I love that you just call it Phantom. Like, we should know that.
I mean, don't you?
I mean, yeah, to be fair, I did. And I am a very big fan of the Phantom of the Opera myself, personally. But Matt, I think, went over his head. Are you serious, Matt?
I don't.
Yeah, I mean, why would I?
Disappointing.
I don't want to throw this person under the bus because I don't know them personally. But just in general, the game was like, I don't know. The way that it represented Christine was kind of weird and misogynistic and upsetting. I think I'm gonna write a Phantom erotica myself. But yeah, I don't know. I haven't played a lot of great erotica games, to be honest, other than those I happened upon on accident as a child, because I was like looking up anime fan art, and I happened on some not safe for work stuff that eventually led to me playing like weird anime porn games that I did not understand. But I knew that they were like, ooh, this is titillating, and I don't know why. But I have no idea what they were called. They were weird.
Yeah, it just seems like in today, like it seems like games are really opening up with the subject matter that they're willing to tackle.
Yeah.
Like maybe in the past 10 years, I think it's really been opening up, but especially now today with all sorts of stuff you see, like in fucking like Cyberpunk 2077, like the biggest game of this whole generation coming out, you can have like multiple genitalia like right from the get-go. That's in the character creator, and then you can romance all sorts of different people of all sorts of different backgrounds. So I think the space is ripe for like erotic games. I think people are a lot more accepting of that now than they would have been back when the anime porn games were the only things that were hidden away in the dregs of the internet on the dark web.
My favorite places to go. Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think that they're a lot more accepted. There's a lot of room for exploration there, and it's really exciting. I have a lot of game dev friends that are exploring that space, and I see a lot of games that have come out sort of exploring that space that I have not taken the time to explore, and I really need to do that. Yeah, Gosh, that's super interesting. I don't know. My entire erotic experiences, I think, video game wise, based on The Sims.
I know there's a few games that what I find really cool, it seems like they're not so much catering to like cis men. Like I don't know if you've heard of Dream Daddy or like Boyfriend Dungeon.
Yes.
Like these are two games that have been pretty popular in the past few years. Dream Daddy's like a dating simulator where you're dating a bunch of like fantasy dads. There's like the sexy vampire dad. I haven't played it myself, but I watched. I think No Clip has a documentary on Dream Daddy that y'all should check out. No Clip, we plug this on the podcast all the time, but it's this YouTube channel that does these awesome video game documentaries. But yeah, they did one on Dream Daddy, and it seems really cool. So I think it's cool that there's just more being made for more types of people, and I think that's really important, especially because games are just so dope. You know, I want everyone to play them. You know, so I want something for everyone.
I agree. I think that there's an amazing amount of work being developed, especially by indie developers, though certainly by some AAA companies as well. I have played Dream Daddy. It's amazing. And I have some friends that have definitely been working on personal projects that are involve queer relationships that are amazing. And I'm really excited to see more games like that coming to the surface and coming into the mainstream, especially. Yeah,
I think it's super cool. I'd love to see more of that. But yeah, you know, we'll be staying tuned to your body of work, Connor, to see if you do something in that space. That'd be pretty cool. Okay. I love all aspects of horror, and I like forcing myself to like sit and watch. Like I was watching this movie today, Zombie, and I started to like instinctively cover my eyes with my shirt, but I stopped myself because I'm not a bitch. So I like made myself watch it, and I love that kind of stuff. I love just like feeling really. That's what I love about horror is like it forces me to be uncomfortable in ways that other genres don't really do.
Yeah, I get that.
I watched this might be a movie you'd be into, Connor. It's called Dogs Don't Wear Pants. It's a newer movie, Finnish. Have you heard of it? Are you familiar?
No, I have not heard of that.
Okay. It's a pretty cool, I actually really liked it. So it's a Finnish movie called Dogs Don't Wear Pants, and the titular dog is a dude who is treated like a dog and made to act like a dog by this dominatrix that he's like isn't really, I don't know if he's falling in love with her, but it's like a horror adjacent movie about a very like boring doctor guy, real uptight guy who finds out that he's really into being humiliated as a like subordinate to this scary dominatrix who's into like super violent, gory stuff. It's a cool movie. It's on Shudder. I'd actually recommend it. I just watched it because I thought the name was funny. Dogs Don't Wear Pants. And turns out it was actually kind of a sweet movie. It was this like kind of heartwarming because there's a scene where the guy goes to this dominatrix and is like, "You could do anything to me," and she's like, "Okay," and then she pulls out one of his teeth like without any like anesthetic or anything, but the movie has like this like really heartwarming happy ending where he just like this dude accepts that like that's what he's into. And I was like, it's like the first horror movie I watched this month. I've tried to watch like a horror movie every day, and it's the first one that had like a happy ending, and it was like very, very, very surprising given the context of the film.
I was gonna say, because the second you said the title, I Google imaged it, and one of the first images was somebody pulling out somebody else's tooth, and I was like,
yep.
How does this have a heartwarming ending?
Yeah,
but I see it's kind of lovely.
Yeah, it was nice. You know, kind of made me step out of my comfort zone. It was the first dominatrix horror film I've ever seen. And it was cool. I'd actually recommend it to anyone with a Shudder subscription. I think it's like an exclusive of theirs. But yeah, okay, so my big question, so horror-wise, is Connor, have you seen Hubie Halloween?
I haven't watched it yet. It's on my list, but I have not watched it yet.
Yeah, it's absolutely wonderful. I mean, it's like maybe the stupidest movie I've ever seen, but I would definitely recommend you watch it. I've become somewhat of an evangelist for the Hubster.
Gus, did you see the comment on the tweet of our last podcast?
Oh my God. Yeah, dude, I was responding to this guy. So kind of on our, I tweeted out the link to our last podcast. It was like mostly, we talked way too much, honestly. And I'm sorry to our audience about Hubie Halloween. We went real deep into this very stupid movie, and a like gimmick Twitter account called, I can bring it up, but the account is called something like, has Adam Sandler made a good movie yet?
Yep.
And all the account does is tweet no every day. And they responded to our tweet, and I'll pull up the tweet now so I can get this right. I want to do them justice. They said, all that talking about Hubie Halloween better have been talking shit. And then I just responded, you can tweet yes now, because he only tweets no. and then he said, I don't think I will. And then I crudely photoshopped. I don't know if you've seen Uncut Gems, but there's that scene where where Adam Sandler is like, holy shit, I'm gonna come. But I photoshopped this image to say, holy shit, I'm gonna insist you respect Hubie. He has not responded, so our first official
Sounds
Twitter
like you
beef
got him
with this dude is not resolved. But yeah, I think I got him. But yeah, check out Hubie Halloween if you like really stupid movies.
I enjoy a stupid movie now and then.
Yeah, that would be our official recommendation to you. If you leave this podcast with anything, I hope it's with the intent to watch Hubie Halloween. Okay, in your opinion, Connor, is Hubie Halloween the title? Do you think that's a play on words, like Happy Halloween?
Hubie Halloween. Oh, interesting. I did not process it that way until you asked that question.
Yeah, I think that was probably the intention, but it just doesn't work. But I love that they like committed this multi-million-dollar film with a name that doesn't really make sense. I think it's just wonderful. I love that kind of thing.
It's like one consonant too far. If it was Hubie Halloween, I would process it that way.
Yeah, I think it's wonderful that it is so dumb, and it really mirrors the whole film. But Connor, what are some of your favorite horror films? So you said that this game that you're working on with Half Mermaid is somewhat inspired by horror films, horror cinema. What are some of your horror movie inspirations? Like what are you mostly into?
Let's see. I mean, top films are definitely going to be I think Alien, in the way that, I mean, it was just really groundbreaking, and the suspense was like, I don't know, it was truly phenomenal, those films. But also, I think probably the one I've watched the most, and it continues to get me every time that I watch it, is The Shining.
Oh, that's like my favorite movie. It's so good. Beautiful.
Oh my
movie.
God, it's phenomenal. And I actually just read the novel for the first time.
Oh, how was it? I just started getting into Stephen King novels, but I haven't checked out The Shining yet.
Oh my God, it's so good. I love the film, but I have to look at it as a separate entity, because there's something about the book that gives you such a window into Jack Torrance that is just not at all achieved in The Shining. I think, oops, I dropped my pop filter on the mic. I think that The Shining as a film is phenomenal, everything about it. But what the book does is gives you this phenomenal window into who Jack Torrance is and what motivates him and the way that he works, and just humanizes him in a way that is not, I don't think, represented in the film. In that, like, in the film right away, you're like, who is this kind of fucked up, creepy dad? Whereas in the book, he's clearly fucked up. He's clearly dealing with his own sort of inner turmoil, his own demons, but you see what's there, what's behind it. And then what's really amazing too, is the role that Halloran plays, the chef, from the film, if you remember.
Yeah, of course.
He plays a much larger role in the book that is so amazing, and he's my favorite character, maybe one of my favorite characters ever written. And I just don't feel that the film quite does him justice. I know that it's pretty well known that I think Stephen King was not a huge fan of the Stanley Kubrick film, and I think that maybe that could be in part why, the way that both Jack Torrance and Halloran are represented. The book's phenomenal. The film is also phenomenal. I just have to look at it as sort of a separate entity, a very specific interpretation of the book to really get into it. But God, it's so good. The way it was shot, everything about it. Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah, I think The Shining is one of not just the best horror movies ever, but I think it's just one of the best movies ever. The way it uses suspense and color and world building. I think a lot of movies have taken a ton from The Shining. It's so dope. I love that movie. Matt, your favorite horror movie is Paranormal Activity, right? Or Paranormal Activity 3, is that your favorite?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But besides that, and Paranormal Activity 3 absolutely slaps. That's a great movie. Besides that, Matt, what are some other horror movies that you're into?
Oh, dude, there's so many. Like, see, I don't know if this was a PPC or we talked about this on a pod, but like the thing that's so great about horror and the reason it's my favorite genre is because like so many are like shitty in a weird way.
Oh, I love shitty movies, dude.
But you can still love them. Like saying Paranormal Activity 3 is your favorite like horror movie, like just sounds wrong because it's like the fucking third Paranormal Activity, you know, but like every horror movie can just have like something good about it that grabs somebody. And that's usually what I look for. As long as there's like one little piece that I really enjoy about it, like it's one of my favorites. Like I had a big soft spot for found footage when that was huge. Like, you know, like obviously all the Paranormal Activities. But then there's a Netflix, they put out 2 movies that were called VHS that were like vignettes.
Great movies.
It's just a bunch of like short found footage stories all tied together with this like shitty meta narrative. And it's cool because like a lot of them are like, have you ever seen these, Connor?
I have not.
Oh my God.
I'm gonna be honest. I feel like they would cause me to never sleep again.
Oh, they're not too bad. Like the concept is it's just like a lot of them are like, imagine you're in like a fucking like an English class that's teaching horror, or I guess a creative writing class that's teaching horror, and the teacher writes prompts on like a whiteboard. It kind of feels like the people came up with the stories like that way. Like it's like, oh, zombie, but it's filmed in the perspective of a guy wearing a GoPro, you know? So like a zombie's wearing a GoPro whole time. And
they're just modding classic genres.
Yeah, and it's just kind of like little tweaks, and it's kind of cool to see how it's done because it's very like B movie, but like it covers a lot of like interesting ground. But yeah, I enjoyed stuff like that, and then also just like thick camp, like Evil Dead.
Dude, I love Evil Dead so much. Man, what a great franchise. God, Bruce Campbell, dude. Bruce Campbell is just one of the funniest actors of all time. And the way that he like still is just like so like that. He's still just like capitalizing on the character that was created in like 1981 or whenever the original Evil Dead came out. Is just so great. Usually it's just, I find that kind of cringy when actors do that and just kind of sad. But with Bruce Campbell, it just works. He's got that chin. You know what I mean? He just
got that chin.
Yeah, friend of the podcast, Bruce Campbell.
Okay, Connor. So you have a PS4, right?
Yeah.
Have you played Until Dawn?
Oh, fuck yeah.
Okay. I was going to say, is it good? I've wanted to play that for so long. I own a copy of it, but I don't own a PS4.
So
and like,
stupid, Matt.
Play it.
You are so dumb.
Why would you own a copy of it?
Because like a roommate
the
in college was like, I'm going to get PS4. And I was like, oh, cool. That means it'll be in the living room so I can play it. But like he kept it in his bedroom and yeah.
Oh. Okay, well, come to New York and you can play it on my console.
Okay, cool.
It is very good. I played through most of it on my own without really being able to fully handle and process it. And then last Thanksgiving, I forced my brother-in-law to play through all of it for mine and my siblings' entertainment. And it was amazing.
Yeah. That studio's awesome. Making another game. I don't even know.
They have they're doing an anthology series now called the Dark Pictures Anthology, I want to say it's called. They put out a game last year called Man of Medan, which was like a ghost ship story, like about like a haunted battleship. That was pretty cool. And then they have a new game called Little Hope, which I actually know nothing about it, but that's their next interactive like horror It's kind of like they're not really like adventure games, but they're not really like point and click adventure. They're kind of like Telltale style games, but with like more of a emphasis on like the branching horror narrative, like choosing who lives and who dies. Like it's kind of like you are in like the driver's seat of like a Saw movie.
Yep, that's a good way to describe it.
Wow, these guys have had a weird history of making games. Okay, so the developers of these games is called Supermassive Games, and guess what their first game was?
Pee-wee's Big Adventure, the game.
Okay, wait, just guess the genre the first game was.
Erotica.
No.
I'm gonna say Match 3.
I mean, a little closer. The first game this studio developed was Little Big Planet DLC.
What?
Little Big Planet?
Isn't that crazy?
DLC, interesting. So they like came on board for some kind of random shit that was already being developed. All right, interesting.
Also, there's a VR Until Dawn. Wow.
Yeah, I've heard that's actually okay. It's like a on rails game where you're like on like scary roller coasters or something like that.
Oh, I don't like
all of these VR games I could not handle. I have not played it, but I've watched a lot of Let's Play videos of the VR game. I think it's called Forest or The Forest.
Oh, yeah, I've heard about that.
It's also just flat. Like, you can just play that on a TV.
Oh, okay. I've only watched the VR videos. That shit's fucked up.
Yeah, that game's really good. Like, if you can totally go... Like, that game has one of those... what is it? Like, you're going crazy meters. I think they just call it sanity in that game. But, like...
Yeah.
Like, you know, like, the systems where, like, to ward off enemies, you have to build effigies out of, like, the bones of the parts of the people that you kill. But it makes you go crazy. Like...
What?
You didn't know? Oh, yeah. That's, like, a whole... Like, it's like a crafting game, right? But, like, you use bones for parts. And the way you get bones is you kill the cannibals and then you burn their bodies and you get bones. And you can build effigies that like will act as like scarecrows, kind of.
What a system.
Yeah, right? Like,
who designed that?
A great indie developer.
It's amazing. Oh man, this is, I mean, very, very barely within the horror genre, and I'm sure y'all have talked about it plenty, but have you all played Among Us, and can we all play Among Us together?
Yeah, sure.
That'd be great.
That'd be sweet.
Yeah, we were playing a lot right when that initial I'm glad you brought this up, because we were playing that a lot when it first kind of got big. And a couple weeks ago, we had an exchange on our Discord where somebody called us out for our hot takes on Among Us, because we kind of trashed on it. Because like, I don't know, I was looking at it kind of wrong. Like I'm sure you've played a lot of social deception games before, right?
Yeah.
Like, you've played, like, I'm sure, like, Mafia or something, like, in person with people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Secret Hitler.
Yeah, and so, like...
Mafia, Secret Hitler, I'm trying to think of other examples. But, yeah, I played a lot of deception games like that.
Yeah, and so, like, coming from, like, a background with things like that, and then playing Among Us, which... It's a social deception game, but the talking is at a minimum... You know, because you don't talk while you're doing like half of the game. It like kind of left a weird, I don't know, like feeling that I was like, oh, this is just like not a good fit. But like the more I played the game and started to understand it, it's kind of like an easier point because it's not all just reliant on like your coercion skills. Like, and there's like a break that you can like think.
Yeah.
I thought that was actually kind of cool upon like retrospect.
Have you played it? Have you just played it with the chat system, or have you played where you're like on voice chat on Discord?
Oh
or
yeah,
something with
yeah. I haven't played it with random people. We have a pretty big Discord that we're a part of, so we would usually get like 10 people in a lobby.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I've played it without that, just in like with random people in the chat, and it's a very different, far less satisfying experience.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, it's just like blue sus. Why? Blue sus, or blue is in the electric room or whatever, and then that's it, and then everybody votes. It's far lamer than like when I played with my actual sister, who's a terrible liar, and half the fun was the fact that as soon as we were like, Carolina, you've been awful quiet, what were you doing? She just like turned bright red and burst into this ridiculous smile. We were like, cool, voting for you.
Like you had webcams or you were in person?
We play it on Zoom, so we'll just mute ourselves on Zoom while we're doing our tasks, and then we'll unmute ourselves during the emergency meetings. But she's a terrible liar. She immediately shows her hand.
Yeah, like what's interesting is Among Us was initially a LAN game, which is like, I mean, it's perfect for it. But it's cool that we're like in this age of easy video conferencing software, like where everybody can just like talk and see each other, like super easy, like no real barriers.
Did you see the stats of Discord's users when Among Us like really gained popularity?
No, but I'm sure it was massive. What was it?
It's fucking insane. I don't even know what the numbers are, but I know it like I don't know. It more than doubled their current user base.
Wow.
Just for the game Among Us.
That's crazy. I mean, that's good because they were trying to pivot away from games as like a casual messaging thing anyway. So that's probably going to help people.
Yeah.
Because I love Discord as just like my friends, we have like a group message and we all pivoted away from Facebook Messenger, basically to get away from the thumb of the Zuck. Wanted to get out from that.
I feel that. Fuck that thumb. The Zuck thumb.
Yeah. So we were like, well, you know, Discord has group messaging. Let's just use Discord for this. And we've been just doing our message through there, and it's wonderful. There's some things that kind of suck from like a traditional messaging service, but for the most part, like, I really like it.
I think that about takes us to time. Connor, do you want to have any? I'll give you the mic. Oh, here, let me physically pass you the mic. All right, there you go. Do you want have like the last word on something?
Last word. Oh, I do have a last word, which is not so much a word as a slight conversation. I'm sorry, August. Matt, do you remember how during your little shed kickbacks we used to smoke your pipe?
Yes.
Okay. Well, and for the record, I'm not that I care or it matters either way, but we were smoking tobacco. I continued the habit of smoking tobacco into college and into my master's program. I was smoking cigarettes, and then I really needed to get off cigarettes. And I recently, within the last few months, bought myself a ridiculous but wonderful sort of Gandalf style pipe.
Oh my god.
And I think of you and the days in your shed every time I smoke it.
Wow. Is it like I've seen some of those before. There was this one smoke shop where I'd pick up like the pipe tobacco. See, Gus, you were this is some old stuff.
What, Matt?
What?
Oh, I thought you were about to call me out. I was doing like a preemptive strike.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't call it
on the defense.
These were times that we all spent together, so it's like a memory lane kind of thing.
Aww. Cameron Park.
Yeah, good times.
A beautiful place to live.
But yeah, this one store I would pick up the canned tobacco. They would always had this big like ebony Gandalf looking pipe, and that must be so. Do you use that?
I do. It's not quite as long as the Gandalf pipe. It is a long pipe, but it's not quite as long.
That sounds like a bitch to clean, dude.
It is annoying to clean. I have a really hard time pushing the pipe cleaner through it.
Do you need like extra long pipe cleaners?
I think I do. It's such a bitch. It's a little too narrow. Like the cleaner gets stuck halfway through, and I'm just like hurting my fingers on the fucking shit in the pipe cleaner. But it's lovely. It has little beautiful bits of turquoise running through the pipe.
Whoa. You should send us a picture of this so we can put it on the screen for the podcast.
Okay, I'll send you a picture of the pipe. I literally can't smoke it anywhere. We don't have access to a backyard, and so I'm just like on the sidewalk in Brooklyn, leaning against a scaffold like a dumbass, smoking a Gandalf pipe. You know? And everyone in my neighborhood is just like, who is this hipster asshole smoking her pipe? That's my experience.
That's so funny. I can picture you doing this too.
Oh, totally. That's very on brand, Connor.
Yes, I am happy to have upheld this brand.
Well, that was I really appreciate that anecdote. This is a pro pipe tobacco podcast. And thank you very much for sharing that and all of your wonderful anecdotes, Connor Carson, with us, because this has been the Motion Pixels podcast. I am your co-host, August Meyer, joined by my lovely co-host, Matthew Rawlings. Matthew, say goodbye.
Goodbye.
And this week we were joined by video game developer extraordinaire for Sam Barlow's Half Mermaid Studio, Connor Carson. Connor, say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Because this has been the Motion Pixels podcast. End theme song.
I'm finished.
That's pretty amazing. August, can I be perfectly honest with you?
Yes.
I am about to pee my pants.